Hi, everybody. So we're continuing to fiddle around with the fuel system a little bit. When I say fiddle because this is something that makes me a little nervous. I mean, for the last 2 1/3 year or 2 2 1/4 years, we've just been banging on rivets, right? Here's the thing and that's the thing that no one really tells you about building an airplane is, one day, son, you're not going to be banging rivets anymore. You're going to be dealing with systems that you understand, but you don't understand what could happen to you, right? So, yeah, fuel system scares me a little bit. You know, we're pushing flammable liquids around wires and metal, hot metal, and oxygen. Uh, so, understandably, it makes me a little nervous. Um, so what we're working on in this video is, so we've got the bracket for the pump in place. Actually, there's a little bit of that still showing here. But what we need to do next is we need to make the piece of fuel hose that goes from the front of the fuel pump through the firewall. Now, again, in the standard setup, the fuel pump only goes in one location. It's very well known, and the blueprints for the fuel line are in Van's plans, and they're perfect. Well, unfortunately, the port for my fuel pump is not in the same place. And I tried doing the trig on it, and it didn't quite come out right. And in a little bit, you'll see what I'm talking about. Because it's basically, so what happens is, once this thing is in place, and you can see that hole right there in the front of the fuselage, in the firewall, is I need to have a line that basically goes up, but at the same time goes to the right and then levels out straight. So it's a compound bend, right? It's not just, it's two bends, but it's not two bends that form on the same plane. It's going to be a three-dimensional compound bend. What does that mean for me? Well, I took all the measurements that I could. First of all, the fuel pump fitting is up at an angle of about 15 degrees, right? Meanwhile, the firewall fitting is completely flat. So I need it to come up actually a little bit more. So basically what I'm getting at is that the upward angle of the fitting isn't enough to actually get the fuel line up to the level it needs to be to, once bent, face directly into the firewall fitting with enough distance for the sleeve. Remember, as I described, anytime you bend these lines, you have a little sleeve that's tightly fit onto the end of these lines right before you flare the line. And those have to be straight, and they have to be 1.5 inches long. So, no matter how far two pieces of metal are apart, if you don't have 3 inches total that you can spare, 1.5 on each end, then you're not fitting a piece of line there. Thus, the last video where you saw me having to move the filter forward because I didn't have enough line to go from the fuel selector to it. Without some kind of weirdo backtracking 180-degree bend, it would look awful, right? And who knows if that's even safe, so that didn't happen. And there it is. So we were talking about, how difficult this is. Look at that jagged piece of crap right there. I tried bending that 16 different times just to get it to fit, and it wasn't happening. I tried on 3 different pieces, and I just couldn't get the angle right. It's not as easy as you might think. Making these lines is tough, especially even if you're good at math and you've got it down. If you don't have experience, you're messing stuff up. So that's when, once again, I took stock of my abilities. I looked deep inside myself. I breathed in deep, and I thought, I'm just going to have Spruce make a fuel line for me. And so that's what I did. I got on Spruce's website, and I ordered a 9 1/4 inch Aeroquip 666 fuel line with straight fittings on both ends. So when that comes in, I'm just going to fit it on up. Could I have made my own? Yes. Probably would have been better for me. But I didn't. So we're doing it this way. So all this video is really for naught, other than me explaining how, you know, sometimes we need help. Sometimes we have to buy help. Anyway, in the next video, we will be continuing to work, hopefully, on this rotisserie and get this thing off the ground so that we can get it working. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you soon.